I would advise the government of Canada, and I advise the people of Canada, do not take the bait.
Is Kuzma getting ripped up? Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today, that's talk of the town here. Is this more fear-mongering, or is there any teeth to this? Donald Trump came out once again, swinging against Canada, saying America is getting ripped off. Is he negotiating, or is he working with Carney to tank Canada's economy? Let's jump into this. Starting this one off, we got this from Canada Proud. A federal judge has ruled that the CBC is entitled to hide the amount it spends on advertising from the public because disclosure could result in public interference and pressure to modify its spending. This is once again more censorship, dishonest media by the CBC. This was reported by Blacklock's reporter. And it's no surprise the CBC does this. Looking at the article here, it says senior managers at the CBC were getting paid $14.9 million in yearly bonuses and billing $1,000 a night for five-star Paris hotel and $497,000 a year for the CEO. They're just as wasteful as the Liberals. Moving ahead, we've got Mark Carney in some hot water here. So I showed it in the previous video, his $1,775 per plate dinner in Vancouver, his fundraiser. Well, it says here Liberal Party decision to hold the closed-door fundraisers under Prime Minister Mark Carney's leadership is being scrutinized by experts in political ethics, with one calling the move a step back. Carney is attending a Liberal fundraiser at a private residence Vancouver Wednesday night, $1,775. The event is not open to the media. Of course it's not. Mark Carney, the guy who said he's going to bring in all this transparency, has done the opposite. He just locked a whole bunch of the Pokey Poke records for 15 years. They've shut down investigation into digging up the dirt and finding if there's anything in there. Then British Columbia. Carney's the exact opposite of a transparent government. Moving ahead, we've got NDP debate going on. This is just a clown college here. We'll briefly touch on this. So we've got Farmer Joe here, Heather McPherson, who was the front runner, not so much anymore, Avi Lewis, Tanil Johnston, whose claim to fame is she's the first Indigenous woman to run. This is what she's putting out as her advantage. Not talking about business experience or this, that, or the other. And then Rob Ashton, the union guy. And basically we have found out that Avi Lewis has raised over $700,000 and Heather McPherson is the next closest at $300,000. So he's raised the most amount of money. He's become the front runner. With that said, we're only going to look at one segment here. Listen to this.
Our campaign has put forward the essential role of public ownership to double down on the things that make Canada, Canada, not just our healthcare system, investing in the care economy where more than 3 million people, mostly women, work in long-term care, in childcare, and healthcare and education, a public option for groceries, cell phones, internet connection, a public bank through Canada Post and postal banking. These are measures emphasizing the responsibility of the government to step up and govern and use our public resources in the public interest. Not everybody on this stage is willing to go there, but that's the only way that Canada can build a Trump-proof economy.
A Trump-proof economy. He wants to have the government start a grocery store, a bank, government-owned cell phone company, government-owned internet. This guy is insane, but he is on brand. The socialist agenda's got to go. This is their best. This is their absolute best. Now, with that, we've got this breaking news here. This just sums up the NDP leadership debate. What did they have? It looks like a fight almost broke out in the hallway because they didn't allow Yves Engler to be a part of the debate. It says rejected candidate Yves Engler and some supporters moments ago. Now security telling them police have been called. This is also on brand for the NDP.
Democracy Party! No Democracy Party! No Democracy Party! No Democracy Party! Men members decide!
These people are crazy. There's no short supply of them either. I mean, look at this. This goes on and on. Yeah, these people will never govern the country. Ever. Ever.
You support war!
Oh, you can't get him. He's standing on a chair. Okay, I think we've had enough of that. Oh, there's another video of them here. It's funny because there's so few of them too, because there's just no NDP supporters. We got this one here from the Globe and Mail. It says, what do you do when you're living next door to a fascist state? This is unbelievable, the crap they're pushing on Globe and Mail here. America's not a fascist state. All this anti-American rhetoric they're putting out here is so dangerous. There's so many businesses and families and companies that are tied together across the border that has built this relationship over the past 250 years. Just because Donald Trump is bringing in tariffs shouldn't destroy everything that has been built up. This relationship relationship is more than just Donald Trump. He'll be gone in 3 years. Is it worth it to destroy all of that? This is ridiculous. Obviously, they're just helping the Liberals try to get a majority government. The media has no soul. They'll sell their soul to anyone for a few bucks. Got Juno News posting this. We've got Dominic LeBlanc being asked in Mexico whether Canada has discussed a contingency plan with Mexico if Donald Trump rips up the CUSMA agreement. Is there a separate agreement that Canada would have with Mexico?
Has Canada also discussed any contingency planning with Mexico in case the U.S. formally seeks bilateral arrangements?
No, we haven't.
That's unbelievable. Considering the situation, these guys have no plan? Are they kidding? What are they doing? What do they do all day? They should have a plan. It should already be done. They should have a contingency plan. They should have 3 plans. One where CUSMA goes forward, another where there's bilateral agreements with one with America and one with Mexico, and another plan where if we can't get a deal with America or we can't get a deal with Mexico. These guys are completely useless. How do these incompetent people get reelected? People voted for them. I don't know why, but they did. Brilliant. Informing the U.S. what a bunch of turnips our team is. Yeah, I mean, this just gives America more power in these negotiations. And well, maybe that's what they want. Maybe they want this ripped up. They want this scary situation of CUSMA getting ripped up and the big scary Donald Trump. And oh no, elbows up. We have to fight back. This is unfolding all unfortunately, predictably, isn't it? And with that, we've got this one here. It says 2 Canadian officials involved in the U.S. trade discussions who spoke anonymously to frankly convey their impressions of the state of the talks said expectations in Ottawa for a full renewal of the CUSMA were very low. Mr. Carney's team said even questions whether it would trust any fresh trade agreements with Mr. Trump. The Canadian government said it is preparing for a long, bumpy, dramatic talks with a hostile U.S. administration and even for a breakup of the USMCA. Mr. Trump repeatedly said last year that he wanted Canada to become 51st state, yada, yada. You just gotta wonder, are they all just doing this together? Both sides lose here, but it's Canadians are the ones losing in this. Mark Carney invested 91% in America. He's not fighting for us. And the elbows up fools, they're getting completely duped and they don't even know it.
And not only China, other countries too. People from other countries like Canada and others, they sue us. Canada has ripped us off for years. Not anymore, they're not. And I'm waiting for a decision from the Supreme Court. Can you imagine? We have to wait.
That's just it. Donald Trump waiting for a decision from the Supreme Court because that affects everything with the tariffs and negotiations with CUSMA. And they need to get on with that sooner than later. Donald Trump saying Canada's riffing off America. Is he just priming here, getting ready for CUSMA renegotiations? Seems like it. The question remains, has Canada dealt unfairly with U.S. trade or has USA been disadvantaged by one-side agreements in the last they are looking to rectify? That is the only question I have. The rest is only noise from him and us. I mean, when it comes down to it, they have cheap gas in America because of us. They're getting our oil dirt cheap, so they're getting a huge win there. Now, are we ripping them off on dairy? Are we ripping them off on other stuff? Just rectify this stuff and let's move on. Unfortunately, Canadians voted in the wrong guy, so that's not going to happen. Jumping over to CBC, we got Rob Russo from The Economist dropping a good take here, pushing back against Mark Carney and essentially holding him accountable and questioning him on the details of stuff because nobody ever does it. Obviously, we do around here, and conservative creators will question the details of Carney's plan, but liberals never do it.
The policies that most of the current policies that Mark Carney has introduced are really long-term horizon stuff. This isn't an electoral cycle or even 2 in these cases. The defense procurement stuff, this is going to be a decade more before we really see the full benefits of it. He needs time too, doesn't he?
Of course he does. And anytime anybody comes up with a 10-year strategy, I always ask the question, are you going to be here in 10 years to put a check mark on whether or not you delivered on this? Because very few of them are around for 10 years.
But that's been the problem, hasn't it? Like I talk to businesses every day and they have lamented.
It is the problem. And in a way, it's a problem with the modern electorate in that we do not any longer in Canada, it seems, elect governments who bring in an agenda that's generational.
Right, it's long.
We look at the electoral horizon. Politicians do this because they don't always want to tell us the truth. I would like to hear more from Mark Carney on the fact that this is going to be difficult. If this plays out the way we fear it's going to play out, it's going to be some very, very difficult years.
He talks about sacrifice.
He's talked about it, but I want to know what that means.
Well, and
what
that's
does
just
that
it.
mean?
We sort of skate by it. And it feels like something we should probably talk a little bit more about.
He's only mentioned the word sacrifice maybe twice. Once was at that Toronto University speech, and there was one other time there. But yes, we should be asking, what does that mean? Because Carney's plan here, he says that generational investments, but as Rob pointed out, is he going to be around in 10 years? No, because all his Brookfield stuff, his carried interest on his Brookfield Global Transition Fund 1 completes in a couple of years. And his stock options for Brookfield are done in 2033 and 2034. So he's already well out by that point. He doesn't want to be prime minister the whole time. He just wants to cash in and get out. So in reality here, he's pushing his net zero agenda on us, but he doesn't want to stay here to show it crash and burn. He just wants to sell it to us now so he gets rich in the short term. He's a short-term prime minister.
Because there's a million ways between now and July and the renewal of the CUSMA process kicks in that things could go sideways and south, that, the talk of a 1-seat majority or a, 2-seat minority become pretty trivial, don't they?
Canadians are getting duped here. I mean, they're running scared because of every single thing that Donald Trump puts out. I mean, even today, look what Trump put out. This is posted right off the White House account. Donald Trump saying, based on the tremendous interest, I will be directing the Secretary of War and other relevant departments, agencies to begin the process of identifying and releasing government files related to alien and extraterrestrial life. So this is in response to him on Air Force One. One of the reporters asked him about Obama talking about aliens, and then Trump said he shouldn't have done that because that's classified information. And well, now he's going to be releasing anything to do with UFOs and aliens that the government has with this recent threat of ripping up CUSMA, which I think Donald Trump is probably just doing as a negotiating tactic as usual. We got a couple good takes here on CTV.
Tony, I'll start with you. Some of the more interesting details in the New York Times reporting was the way in which they were interpreting the recent threat. I think last time we were together around the Gordie Howe Bridge, and a number of the different tactics being employed as trying to up the pressure, really, and excise more concessions from Canada in this process. How should we be interpreting that, do you think?
Yeah, this is typical Trump pressure tactics. He's known for it. He's done it all his life in real estate and in politics. So he's trying to destabilize us, knock us off our game, having us look behind our shoulder. All of this is so typical of Donald Trump's negotiating style. So I would advise the government of Canada, and I advise the people of Canada, do not take the bait, do not freak out, don't go crazy and light our hair on fire and run in circles. None of that is helpful.
Unfortunately, that's what's going to happen. Canadians are going to take the bait and completely freak out. Oh my God, the world is burning down. Donald Trump, so evil. And it's just going to turn this into another fiasco when this is just textbook Donald Trump negotiating.
We just take it for what it is. It's a bunch of noise. At the same time, we have to continue to do what we can do as a country to increase our leverage when we're in negotiations. Thank goodness Stephen Harper concluded a trade deal with the European Union in the dying days of his government, because I think that's to our benefit. And I know Mark Carney is pursuing similar attachments, which is all good. And find the things that are in our favor. With the fact that 75% of our trade is with our southern neighbors. So that's a fact of the situation, a fact for us, but also a fact for them.
Just imagine if they fast-tracked a pipeline and a pipeline was already approved, just brought back all those approvals that already were for the one out to Prince Rupert. We already had shovels in the ground. We would have some negotiating power. Obviously, Carney doesn't want to do that unless he gets Pathways Project, carbon capture, because he's a greedy man. He will only do it if he financially benefits from it.
It feels like there's certainly like almost coalescing of opinion around that, or it feels like that's what's happening, Christy, right? Like that there's a bit of an acceptance that this is a very punishing roller coaster ride, and to focus on the things, quote unquote, we can control. What kind of pressure does that put on the federal government, though, about those things?
Well, I think this kind of constant change is actually something the federal government is learning from, which is probably odds are it's not going to happen, that they're going to just bail on CUSMA and it's not going to happen. I think CUSMA will be renewed. And my optimism about that stems from the fact that American American businesses that depend on Canada, in particular in agriculture, most of which are in red states, are saying we need to keep this free trade deal going. I mean, there's not much downside for the United States to keep Canada in the deal. So I think, yes, it's a roller coaster ride. Yes, it's been bumpy. And yes, it will continue to be bumpy, but I think ultimately CUSMA will be renewed. And I will say too, I think that the federal government kind of failing to engage and, not getting all worked up about it and engaging in news cycle after news cycle on it has been really helpful. I think just sort of letting it lie, letting it happen, let the negotiators, and I think that Janice Charest and Mark Wiseman are absolutely fantastic picks to be down there doing some of this work alongside Dominic LeBlanc. I think that's going to make a big difference for this. So, keep on and carry on. And that's the best Canadian motto we've got at the moment, except when Canada meets the U.S. in the final.
This was a good take here, surprisingly, from Christy Clark. But I think in general, when she doesn't have anything in it for her, she does tell the truth, even though in general she's a pretty nasty character. She absolutely destroyed British Columbia when she was premier of it. She's right here in that hopefully CUSMA does just go through and it's just a bunch of chatter and noise, and well, it's beneficial to both sides. It's interesting having a liberal here speak when they're not involved in the government, because you've got Marco Mendicino here. We're not going to play him, but he just keeps parroting talking points for Mark Carney. That's why he's there. Carney needed someone trustworthy that was in the government to go on CBC and just push out talking points.
A strong Canada means a strong United States. A strong United States means a strong Canada. Our economies have to work in tandem, and that's the argument for CUSMA. That's the argument for trade. We're their biggest customer. They're our biggest customer. When they're wealthy, we're wealthy, and the inverse is true. And we never should stop beating that drum. It's the most successful relationship in the history of the world.
I mean, this is what should really be pushed forward with China rising up, that we should be partnering more, not less, pushing back against China. So it's very suspicious what's going on with such tough negotiating coming from Trump. Is he trying to tank our economy to take us over? Well, billions of dollars of capital are fleeing Canada as we speak. So time will tell if Carney and Trump are working on it together or Trump's just doing hard negotiations. Let's jump back to Tony Clement here. He had another take.
Tony, and I like I said, I take everything that Marco just spelled out. I listen as the federal government paints that picture, but there are still very key economic indicators here, despite everything we know is wrong with the economic case in the United States, that it's also having a detrimental impact here, and that people are not doing great in a lot of different respects.
No,
what issues does that present?
No.
So they're talking about the tariffs here, both in America and Canada.
Absolutely. Obviously, that's hurting everybody at the grocery store and trying to buy a house. But Vashi, I'd be remiss if I didn't say, as a business person now, the capital flight that is happening in this country right now, money going away. It's in the billions and billions and billions of dollars right now, this very second, for the last 9 months, who knows how long. So they do need certainty, Vashi. That's another point for, vis-a-vis what Marco was saying. We do need a deal eventually with the United States to allay that, to make this a sound investment opportunity to invest in Canada and for our own Canadians to invest in Canada. So
we don't have this certainty right now, and it's even worse in British Columbia, where you have First Nations just stealing people's land, all this crap going through the courts. Who would invest in British Columbia? There's already been numerous businesses, multi-million-dollar, we're talking $100+ million facilities and businesses that have just completely gone away from these projects because they don't want their land stolen by First Nations because some draconian law that the NDP allowed to slide through Parliament a couple of years ago, a UN initiative. And now Canadians are wondering if 40 years of busting their butt to not only buy the house, but pay off a house, and then First Nation can come in and say, oh, my grandmother, my great-grandmother ate blackberries on that land once. That means I get all of your property that you've worked your entire life for. That does not bring certainty. It's one of the most ludicrous things probably in the history of Canada that we're dealing with right now. And as this stuff is starting to spread across Canada, luckily a lot of areas in Canada have territory treaties, but some areas around Quebec, the Maritimes, do not have treaties. And what do we see First Nation bands trying to nab up all that land to? Because, well, Canadian real estate is so expensive because the Liberals have jacked it up over the past 10 years. It's one gong show after another in this country. This crap has to end. We have to have some real people running the country for once, not a greedy gang of opportunists who looking to just enrich their own bank accounts.